This is Donald Trump's request for a special master, filed United States District Court, Southern District of Florida, case number 22-CV-81294-AMC, in the matter of the search of Mar-a-Lago 100 South Ocean Boulevard, Palm Beach, Florida 33480. Motion for judicial oversight and additional relief. President Donald J. Trump, movement, through his undersigned counsel, respectfully files this motion for judicial oversight and additional relief, which seeks an order that A. appoints a special master, B. enjoins further review of seized materials by the government until a special master is appointed, C. requires the government to provide a more detailed receipt for property, and D. requires the government to return any item seized that was not within the scope of the search warrant, and states as follows. 1. Introduction. Politics cannot be allowed to impact the administration of justice. President Donald J. Trump is a clear frontrunner in the 2024 Republican presidential primary and in the 2024 general election, should he decide to run, period. Beyond that, his endorsement in the 2022 midterm elections have been decisive for Republican candidates. On August 8, 2022, in a shockingly aggressive move, with no understanding of the distress it would cause most Americans, roughly 24 special agents of Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, directed by attorney for the U.S. Department of Justice, the government, raided the home of President Donald J. Trump. According to the government, the agent seized documents, privileged and or potentially privileged materials, and other items, including photos, handwritten notes, and even President Trump's passports that were outside the lawful reach of an already overbroad warrant. President Trump, like other citizens, is protected by the Fourth Amendment to the United States Constitution. Property seized in violation of his constitutional rights must be returned forthwith. Law enforcement is a shield that protects Americans. It cannot be used as a weapon for political purpose. Therefore, we seek judicial assistance in the aftermath of an unprecedented and unnecessary raid on President Trump's home at Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida. From the first moment that the government informed movement through counsel that a search was underway, he demanded transparency. Movement asked the government the questions that any American citizen would ask under such circumstances, namely, why raid my home with a platoon of federal agents when I have voluntarily cooperated with you with your every request? What are you trying to hide from the public, given that you required that I turn off all home security cameras and even refused to allow my attorneys to observe what your agents were doing? Why have you refused to tell me what you took from my home? As set forth in detail below, the government has declined to provide even the most basic information about what was taken or why. However, the scanned information the government has provided, a vaguely worded receipt for property, and the warrant itself raises significant Fourth Amendment questions about the unprecedented and unnecessary raid. For instance, the government has informed counsel for President Trump that privileged and/or potentially privileged documents were among the items taken from his home, but the government has refused to provide any information regarding the nature of these documents. The Supreme Court has held that documents reflecting communications between the president and top advisors are presumptively privileged. United States versus Nixon, 418 U.S. 683, 782, 1974. Protecting the integrity of these documents is important not only to movement but also to the institution of the presidency. Significantly, the government has refused to provide President Trump with any reason for the unprecedented general search of his home. To date, the government has failed to legitimize its historic decision to raid the home of a president who has been fully cooperative. Instead, faced with public backlash, the Attorney General has taken the unheard of step announcing at press conference that he was willing to release portions of a sealed search warrant application. Government leaks to favored media outlets have provided ever-changing and inaccurate justifications for the publicized conduct of the FBI and Department of Justice. These unsupported justifications by anonymous sources hint at a breakdown in communications between President Trump's representatives and the government, or that there developed a need to obtain a search warrant. The actual chronology of events clearly establishes that there was no exigency for a forceful raid, and there was no basis for keeping information about the raid from the public. Movement therefore requests that the court order the government to provide the information. I'm going to go back up because I want to see if in the beginning he identifies himself as President Trump. He does. He starts off saying he is President Donald J. Trump. He is former President Donald J. Trump, but he still considers himself president. Movement therefore requests that the court order the government to provide the information sought by this motion and to take the other measures set forth in detail below in order to protect movement's constitutional rights under the Fourth Amendment. Background. A. President Donald J. Trump's voluntary assistance. On January 20, 2021, President Trump and his family left the White House. They moved back to their home at Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida. Mar-a-Lago is a historic landmark, a mansion with 58 bedrooms and 33 bathrooms on 17 acres of land extending from the Atlantic Ocean to the Intracoastal Waterway, hence the name, which means sea to lake. Consistent with every modern presidential transition, staff conducted the move on a condensed time frame. That move, like home moves undertaken by most Americans, involved boxes. It was done during the day with the boxes in full view. After President Trump and his family settled back into their home, employees at the National Archives and Records Administration, NARA, inquired as to whether any documents were inadvertently transferred by the movers to Mar-a-Lago. In January 2022, Movement voluntarily asked NARA movers to come to Mar-a-Lago to receive 15 boxes of documents that had been bought by movers to Mar-a-Lago so they could be transferred to NARA headquarters in Washington, D.C. On February 8, 2022, NARA made the following public statement. Throughout the course of the last year, NARA obtained the cooperation of Trump representatives to locate presidential records that had not been transferred to the National Archives at the end of the Trump administration. When a representative informed NARA in December 2021 that they had located some records, NARA arranged for them to be securely transported to Washington. NARA officials did not visit or raid the Mar-a-Lago property. National Archives press statements in response to media queries about presidential records, February 8, 2022, available at https://www.archives.gov/press/press-releases/2 022/NR22-001. Sometime thereafter, NARA employees involved the White House and DOJ in the matter of the voluntary returned 15 NAR boxes. Movement was contacted because the 15 NARA boxes contained documents from his administration that were protected by executive privilege, and Movement's counsel communicated with representatives of the White House, the DOJ, and the NARA regarding these matters. On May 11, 2022, Movement voluntarily accepted services of a grand jury subpoena addressed to the custodian of records for the office of Donald J. Trump, seeking documents bearing classification markings. President Trump determined that a search for documents bearing classification markings should be conducted, even if the marked documents had been declassified, and his staff conducted a diligent search of boxes that had been moved from the White House to Florida. On June 2, 2022, President Trump, through counsel, invited the FBI to come to Mar-a-Lago to retrieve responsive documents. The next day, on June 3, 2022, Jay Bratt, Chief of Counterintelligence and Export Control Section in DOJ's National Security Division, came to Mar-a-Lago accompanied by 3 FBI agents. President Trump greeted them in the dining room at Mar-a-Lago. There were 2 other attendees, the person designated as the custodian of records for the office of Donald J. Trump and counsel for President Trump. Before leaving the group, Donald Trump's last words to Mr. Bratt and the FBI agents were as follows: "Whatever you need, just let me know." Responsive documents were provided to the FBI agents. Mr. Bratt asked to inspect a storage room. Counsel for President Trump advised the group that President Trump had authorized him to take the group to the room. The group proceeded to the storage room, escorted by 2 Secret Service agents. The storage room contained boxes, many containing the clothing and personal items of President Trump and the First Lady. When their inspection was completed, the group left the area. Once back in the dining room, one of the FBI agents said, "Thank you. You did not need to show us the storage room, but we appreciate it. Now it all makes sense." Counsel for President Trump then closed the interaction and advised the government officials that they should contact him with any further needs on the matter. On June 8, 2022, Mr. Bratt wrote to counsel for President Trump. His letter requested in pertinent part that the storage room be secured. In response, President Trump directed his staff to place a second lock on the door to the storage room, and one was added. In the days that followed, President Trump continued to assist the government. For instance, members of his personal and household staff were made available for voluntary interviews by the FBI. On June 22, 2022, the government sent a subpoena to the custodian of records for Trump Organization, seeking footage from surveillance cameras at Mar-a-Lago. At President Trump's direction, service of that subpoena was voluntarily accepted, and responsive video footage was provided to the government. B. Application for search warrant. Despite the voluntary assistance provided by President Trump, the government took the unprecedented step of requesting a search warrant for his home. The government sought as expansive and intrusive search of President Trump's office, all storage rooms, and all other rooms or areas with the premises used or available to be used by President Trump and his staff, and in which boxes or documents could be stored. Search warrant attachment A, parentheses, case 9:22-MJ-08332-BER, ECF 17 at 3 of 7. The government also sought an expansive definition of property that it could seize, which included not only responsive documents and associated boxes, but also any other containers, boxes that are collectively stored or found together with aforementioned documents and containers/boxes. Essentially, the government secured court authorizations to seize boxes that just happened to be located near potentially responsive materials. The search warrant was signed at 12:12 p.m. on Friday, August 5th, 2022. Search warrant citation is included as above. The government was given 14 days to execute the search warrant. C. The unprecedented search of President Trump's home. Belying any actual urgency, the government waited 3 days until Monday, August 8, 2022 to execute the search warrant. Early in the morning on August 8, 2022, a group of roughly 24 FBI agents gathered on the premises at Mar-a-Lago carrying boxes and other items. At approximately 9:10 a.m., Mr. Bratt telephoned counsel for President Trump and informed him that a group of FBI agents was at Mar-a-Lago to execute a search warrant. Heated discussion ensued as to why the government did not make a voluntary request to further explore the premises, given the expansive assistance that President Trump had provided to that point. Mr. Bratt then made several requests. The first request made by Mr. Bratt was that all closed-circuit television cameras at Mar-a-Lago be turned off. Pursuant to Mar-a-Lago policy and in the absence of any court order directing such a measure, this request was declined. Mr. Bratt also requested the names of any attorneys who might arrive at Mar-a-Lago on behalf of President Trump. In turn, counsel for President Trump requested a copy of the search warrant and affidavit in support and asked to be provided with a list of anything seized. Once the search was completed, Mr. Bratt declined to provide the search warrant and affidavit, stating that after the FBI agents finished their search, President Trump would be provided with a copy of the search warrant and a receipt for property, but not the affidavit. Among other actions taken after being notified of this unprecedented event, counsel for President Trump contacted 3 attorneys in the general area who agreed to go to Mar-a-Lago. Once they arrived, they requested the ability to enter the mansion in order to observe what the FBI agents were doing, which the government declined to permit. After approximately 9 hours, the FBI concluded its search. An FBI agent provided one of the attorneys who had been waiting outside for nearly the full 9 hours with a copy of the search warrant. The FBI also provided a 3-page receipt for property, and then it lists the receipt that was provided. Almost no information that would allow a reader to understand that what was seized or the precise location of the items. On August 11th, 2022, counsel for President Trump spoke with Mr. Bratt by telephone. The first item of discussion was a message from President Trump to Attorney General Merrick Garland. The message was as follows. President Trump wants the Attorney General to know that he has been hearing from people all over the country about the raid. If there was one word to describe their mood, it is angry. The heat is building up. The pressure is building up. Whatever I can do to take the heat down, to bring the pressure down, just let me know. In addition, counsel for President Trump asked Mr. Bratt to provide a copy of the affidavit, to agree to the appointment of a special master to protect the integrity of the privileged documents, and 3, to provide a detailed list of exactly what was taken from President Trump's home and where it had been located in the mansion, and 4, to allow counsel to President Trump the ability to inspect what had been seized. Mr. Bratt declined these 4 requests. To end the call, counsel for President Trump requested that all on the call keep the lines of communication open. D. Attorney General Merrick Garland's press conference. Just hours after this August 11th, 2022 telephone call, Attorney General Merrick Garland took the unusual step of holding a press conference to deliver remarks regarding